Hi, my name is Rob Shapiro, and I'm an associate professor in the education department at Fitchburg State University. I'm going to be talking to you today about my course, Concepts and Principles of Applied Behavior Analysis, SPED 8013. This is a graduate course that is online and asynchronous, and it's offered as part of our 7-course Applied Behavior Analysis sequence designed to prepare students to be able to take the exam, to be able to become board-certified behavior analysts, and then to be successful BCBAs. And the first thing that I'd love to draw your attention to is the course welcome video. This video highlights what's going to be involved in the course, again, a brief description of it, but then an opportunity just to talk to students about this is what we're going to be covering, this is what we're going to be doing, and this is why it's important. It's an opportunity to get students excited about the content that we're going to be covering. And you'll find that throughout this course, I like to embed videos, whether it be lectures, whether it be brief introductions, but just opportunities for students to be able to put a face to the name and to be able to feel like it's more of a high-touch environment, even though the course is online and asynchronous. So course introduction video, and then course objectives that just outline the key things that we'll be talking about over the course of the semester, followed by activities and assignments that we'll be covering over the course of the semester. And what I like about this is it's broken down into the topics that are going to be covered. So you see in Module 1, define and provide examples of behavior, response, and response class, and define and provide examples of stimulus and stimulus class. But one thing I wanted to highlight here is you see where it says B1 and B2. So those designations refer back to the behavior analyst task list that the Behavior Analyst Certification Board puts out. So it basically ties the topics back to the specific things that students need to learn to be able to be effective behavior analysts and to be able to pass the exam to become a behavior analyst. So the topics are over here, and then there's also a listing of all the readings and assignments that are due, which is going to include readings from our text, as well as responding to discussion boards, completing guided notes, which we'll get into in a minute, and each module has a module test. So you see all that is included down here. So that lets us get into the meat and potatoes of what the course content is. So the course content, as you can see here, it's broken down into 7 weeks of content. This is a 7-week accelerated course. And each week is set up in a very similar way. It all starts with an introduction. Okay, and that introduction is, talks a little bit in written form about what's going to be included, but more importantly, there's a link to a brief video that students can watch. And again, this video, it's really short. It's about 2 minutes in duration, but it really sets the stage. It talks about this is what we're going to be covering in this module. This is why it's important for us to be talking about this. And so hopefully it engages students, it engages their interest, and it gets them excited about the work that we're going to be covering over the course of the week. And then again, it also makes it like a person is presenting this material, and it's not just them sitting at their computer on an island. After the introduction video, the modules move on to the task list, which specifies everything that's going to be expected over the course of this week's module. So here you can see they have to visit the BACB website and read about the standards and requirements, read the first 2 chapters of the text, view the lectures and complete and submit their guided notes, participate in discussion boards, and take the module post-test. So it's just providing a lot of clarity as far as this is what you're expected to do this week. So there aren't any surprises, and there's not any confusion about what the expectations are. Then in each of these modules, there are going to be anywhere between 2 and 4 lectures, each one dedicated to a specific task list item that's going to be covered that week. So again, this is an opportunity for students not just to be doing things on their own. Certainly they engage with the reading, whether it's from the text or whether it's articles or other sources. But there are corresponding lectures with all of these topics for students to be able to hear someone talking about these concepts. So students who learn best in that manner are able to get that. Then there are guided notes, and there will be one guided note that is attached to each lecture that's included. We'll get into those guided notes in a minute, but they form a really important part of making sure that students are staying actively engaged with the lectures. Then there's also a module test that's included with each module. And there's a discussion board post. And with the discussion board post, the expectation is that students post themselves, but then they also respond to a couple of their peers' discussions. Just an opportunity to continue to create that learning community so students can get comfortable expressing ideas, express ideas with each other, gain information from each other. I do want to key in on these guided notes for a minute because what they provide can be a really interesting way to ensure that students get engagement. So first of all, there are simple engagement checks, which basically embedded throughout the lectures, there are things that pop up on the screen that say engagement check 1, engagement check 2, and students are expected to write down the word or phrase that is included in that engagement check. And it's a way of making sure that students are going through and they're accessing the entire lecture. And then also within those guided notes, there are exercises for students to engage in. And so typically there are places within the lecture where it says, okay, stop the lecture. Go to your guided notes, complete this example, and it's an opportunity for students to complete that example and get that hands-on experience, really be fully engaged with the lecture, and then come back to the lecture and we talk about what some examples of completing those exercises might have been. So I find that those guided notes are a really nice piece of making sure that we've got active engagement from students in the class. After that, we move on to the actual module tests. And the tests are all multiple choice questions with a relatively short time limit. So you can see this one is, it's 10 questions and it goes for 20 minutes. The reason for that is because the actual exam to become a BCBA is relatively time limited. It's all multiple choice questions and it's taken online. And so this is an opportunity to try to mimic what the actual BCBA exam is going to be as closely as possible. So students start to get that experience and comfort level. So here you can see a blank contains things such as antecedents and consequences, and students have choices to enter there. So that's an example of the quizzes that are involved with each module. And then the one last thing that I want to draw attention to is under the announcements. And if we go to the announcements, you'll see there is a course welcome message, but then throughout the course, I tend to include additional responses to guided notes and to discussion posts that students are making when I see common themes. So for example, in this one, there was some confusion about negative reinforcement of the punishing agent's behavior as well as negative punishment. So it's an opportunity to talk to students about things that specifically they may be having error patterns with, things that multiple students were either confused about or were struggling with, and it's an opportunity to provide that extra clarity. So again, I find that being as high touch as possible, giving as much feedback as possible, and including video as often as I can is a really effective way to keep student engagement high, make students feel like they're getting that face-to-face experience in an online asynchronous class, and it's been very successful for me. Thanks very much for taking this tour with me.